Hi. We really need to catch up. I've been slacking. This is the first long form video that I've posted, I believe, since I've become a wife. Very exciting. The review of the wedding day is coming. The reason that's taking so long is because I do want to include clips from the videographer from that day, like professional video from that day, and not just like phone video. But unfortunately the contract does say 8 to 10 months for that video to come back. I am crying over it on the inside. It's okay. Yeah. So that is coming, I promise. I just don't know when. Anyway, we're going to talk about the 66 books that I've read so far this year and our plan moving forward to reach our reading goal for this year. Because we're behind. We're very behind at this point. Just so this isn't just like title, author, synopsis, done. Bump, 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 bump. Like, I don't want that to be boring and monotonous. So I'm gonna, if I have the physical books, I'm gonna show you my tabs because I'm very proud of my tabbing. And if you watch Madison Kate, she says all the time, like, I need to annotate less. It takes so much time, and it does. So the way that I do it is if I'm listening to the audiobook, I'll also get the ebook on Kindle, or I'll check it out from my library, whatever, and I'll annotate that way. I'm sorry, the light is changing. The sun just left. I don't know where it went. It's also like 100 degrees today, so if the AC or the fan is loud, I apologize. But I will suffocate if I don't have it on. Anyway, I'll annotate the ebook, and then if I don't already have the physical copy, or if I do and I'm just not lugging it around with me wherever I'm going, then I'll sit down after I finish it and I'll go back and I'll underline everything that I annotated, I'll tab everything, yada yada yada. Because I want all my books to be tabbed. That's my goal. I don't know what percentage we're at with that right now. We definitely have less tabbed than not tabbed. Yeah. We don't have many tabbed. But I think everything that I have physically here we have tabbed. So that's good. That's a decent amount of books. Anyway, if I don't have the book physically, I'm going to let you know whether or not I want it physically to add to my shelf. But I'm trying to... First of all, I don't have money to buy every single book that I love. Second of all, I don't have the space to buy every single book that I love. But we are planning on moving towards the end of the summer, hopefully-ish, after the summer ends. I don't know. We'll see, but the goal is to have more space for books in the next house. Anyway, I'm done yapping at you. We're just going to get into it. So, starting off, back in January, I think I did my January wrap-up, so I'm going to kind of like fly through these a little bit, but I do have some physically. I have 2 of them physically, so I'm very light on the sum. But I did start off 2026 finishing a series so far. The next and last book comes out in September, but it's Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. If you've watched my vlogs or Kayla's vlogs when we're together, the paperback versions of these books have the sprayed edges, and I hate the sprayed edges. Also, my tabbies, there's not a ton in here, but I hate the sprayed edges with a passion. They don't match. I think the first one's like a green, and then the other 2 are like a dark blue, and it's very, they don't match, and I don't like them even if they did match. So I had to get the hardcovers so that they were nice and simple. But I'm kind of glad. I was talking to my coworker about this the other day. I think it makes sense in my head. I don't know if it makes sense to everybody, but I think contemporaries are meant to be paperbacks, and romantasy is more acceptable to be a hardcover. But I don't know. Like, I think all my Powerless books are hardcovers. My Letters of Enchantment books are hardcovers. My ACOTAR is all hardcovers. This series I'm going to have all hardcovers. Alchemist is a hardcover. Fourth Wing I have all hardcovers. So, you know, but I don't want hardcovers in a fluffy little romance. Actually, that's a lie because Abby Jimenez exists. Anyway, that's the 3rd book in the Kindred's Curse saga. by Penn Cole, and I am really enjoying the saga. I think I mentioned this, I'm sure I mentioned this, I say it every time I talk about this freaking series, but people hate our FMC DM, and I just don't. Because honestly, what is she supposed to do? Like, how is she supposed to know better? What would you do different? You think you'd know what to do if you were in her situation? I think not. Anyway, she's just doing what she can. She's doing her best. 4 stars. I'm also looking forward to Burn of the Everflame in September. I think September 8th. Ripping my heart out. And I also follow Penn Cole on Threads, and her husband was like, "This is your best book yet?" And I think he's like, you know, he's gonna say that. But it's so sweet. Then I read Change of Heart by Bailey Hannah, which is the 3rd book in the Wells Ranch series. This is a series of interconnected standalones. I don't even have my Goodreads pulled up. Please hold. I couldn't read you my review for Heat of the Everflame because it's the 3rd in the series. I won't spoil things for you. Change of Heart is the 3rd book in the Wells Ranch series. I did not read them in order. I went out of order for whatever reason. I think I read 1, 2, 4, 3, which it could be worse. And 5 is coming out this month. But we'll talk about that later. Yeah, I will not be buying this book because this was probably my least favorite in the series. Which makes me kind of sad. But it's almost like maybe I like skipped it in here for a reason. Okay. Oh, I gave it a 3.5. I thought I only gave it a 3. This book was a little too spice heavy for me. There were some nose-tingling moments for me for sure, but they were kind of few and far between. Denver was really sweet and I had no issues with him or Blair. Obviously the reason they don't talk for years wasn't my favorite, but they were so young you can't expect them to handle the situation perfectly. I do love a second chance romance, as we well know. Blair comes back to town and into Denver's life after 14 years, and they inevitably fall back into each other and navigate through the tension and heartache of how things left off, but there really isn't much conflict here. It's primarily smooth sailing and spice. I'm not a big spice girl. If there's anything you should know about me on this channel, I'm not huge into spice, and I'm really not a dark romance girl. Those are like my 2, I feel like I say those all the time. But moving on. I read In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. This is the, which number book? This is the 4th book in the When in Rome series, and I loved book 3, Beg, Borrow, or Steal. And Steal? Or Steal? Loved it. This fell flat for me a little bit. This one I also gave a 3.5. James is a sweet baby, and Madison is a messy, realistically flawed FMC, but there was an overall sweet conclusion to the Rome, Kentucky series. Sorry, but this was an overall sweet conclusion to the Rome, Kentucky series. It's also not called the Rome, Kentucky series. That is just what I put in my review. But I don't really remember anything about this, and I also did not tab it because I didn't feel anything. I don't know if I had the book. Actually, I think I pre-ordered it, so I think it came to the house release day. But nothing stood out to me enough to go and highlight it. So I might unhaul that. We'll see. Then I read a series of novellas, one of those Amazon series. And this is probably one of the better ones that I've read, actually. Looking at the reviews, because I just read another one, and we'll see how those reviews go. But the first one that I read was Accidentally Yours by Christina Lauren. This is quite the review for a novella. 4.5, this was absolutely precious. Jude and Veronica were adorable, and I have no complaints or notes aside from one small thing, which I think might have been an inconsistency during editing or revisions, but overall I love this. Great start to a series. I, to this day, remember the inconsistency and how much it was bothering me, but I really don't think it matters. I think it's just me being picky. Then I read Time Will Tell by Hannah Bonham Young, and I also gave that one a 4.5. I love this story and that it wasn't something I've read a million times before. Callum and Georgia found each other after Georgia's grandmother passed away and left instructions for Georgia to dig up a box of memories that she had buried years ago with the love of her life, who happened to be Callum's grandmother. Even an ocean between the two couldn't keep them from falling in love, and I ate it up. I love Hannah Bonham Young's writing, and I need to catch up on her backlist. I haven't read Out of the Woods or People Watching it, but I'm scared of people watching because I think his name is Milo, and his body count's like in the hundreds, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't know. That's not really... We'll see. I'm sure I'll love him, but can we just like leave that part out? It's like, we'll get to it, but it's like another book. Like, I wish The Profession wasn't a thing. And I'm sure you'll know exactly which book I'm talking about. Anyway, then I read Death to Valentine's Day by Catherine Cowles, 3.5 stars. This was sweet, but I wasn't really invested like I was with the other stories. I did like the suspense aspect that Catherine Cowles always incorporates. I'd love to see more of Decker and Maya. I think I was missing depth, which is an expected drawback with a novella, because you can't spend 8-9 hours with these characters, get to know them, fall in love with them. It's maybe 2 hours max. Then I read Second Act Romance by Julie Soto. 4 stars. I'm sorry, I keep yawning and trying not to. Bex and CJ's story was very cute and sweet. I definitely felt the anxiety and the panic of the situation that they found themselves in. Then was A Play for True Love by Trilina Pucci, which I have called this woman so many different things. I think Pookie was the biggest one. Anyway, another 4.5 stars. I think this was absolutely precious. In real life, it might be a little restraining ordery, but in fiction, it's so cute. Oliver and Rory are comic cross lovers. I'm definitely going to look into Trilina's other books. Okay, it's too early in the video for this nonsense. And last but not least, we have Valentine's Sleigh by Nevessa Allen, which I gave 3 stars. Noah and Emma's story was not your typical. I enjoyed the suspense, but the spice lost me. Spice always loses me. Almost always. Then after I finished the novella series, I read Bluebird Gold by Devney Perry, which is the first book in the Lost Legends series. I rated it at 4 stars. And my review is, Isla and Cassie had chemistry that I... Cassie? I'm sorry. Had chemistry that I actually felt, but my favorite parts of this book were the mysteries / suspense and Spencer. I don't remember Spencer, but I'm glad I loved him at the time. Okay, these two I'm not going to give you much on because they are the 4th and 5th books in a series. Next we have Glow by Raven Kennedy, which is the 4th book in the Bladed Prisoner series. My whole review is 4.0. I love Slade. That's all. That's the whole review. That's all she wrote. Then we have Gold, which is book 5 in the Bladed Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. 3.75. I'm enjoying the multiple storylines, but I also just miss my sweet, sweet Slade. Okay, next we have a physical book again. Oh, okay. I haven't been saying what I said I was going to say. Please hold, we're going back. Okay, Change of Heart we are not getting. In Your Dreams we're probably unhauling. The novellas are not an option to have physically. Bluebird Gold, don't really remember anything about it, so we're not gonna get it. But the Bladed Prisoner series, I do want those books physically. That is like my next romantasy series that I need to add to my collection. But again, I might have to wait until the new house. So that covers those. Okay. And then we're back to a physical book. So we have Wild Side by Elsie Silver. And I'm holding it this way for a reason, because I want to hold off on showing you my tabs for a second. I did rate this 4.5 stars. My review is, I love Reese. This may be my favorite in this series so far, but I'm also really looking forward to Wildcard. Also, I would absolutely love a book about Will and his sweet little soul. Tabby, Reese, and Milo were a perfect family together, and everything that happened had to happen. No notes, just missing the 5-star feeling. Are we kidding? Is there a page that I didn't tab? Are we sure we're missing the 5-star feeling? I'm confused. Oh, I'm sorry. She's okay. She's fine. Yeah, I loved it. So this is the book that I was talking about. I wish I didn't know his profession, because the wrestling thing, fine, but the mask, really? The mask is where I was like, can we just not talk about it? And just like we'll know about it, but we're not going to talk about it. And then they had the whole like mask scene. And it's like, oh, I'm just going to pretend that we're doing something else. But I did love it. And I am still really looking forward to Wildcard. I have not read it yet. I think we're in February, by the way. Yeah, we're in February now. That was the first book of February. I'm sorry, I'm not good at this. I'm a little rusty. Okay. Then we have I'm sorry, that's also the third book in the Rose Hill series. I don't think I said that. I might have. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know who I am or where I am. It's fine. Then we have Goldfinch by Raven Kennedy, which is the 6th and final book in the nope, not in the Rose Hill, in the Plated Prisoner series. And I gave that also a 3.75. This is, again, it's the last book in the series. I can't really tell you anything that happened because that'd spoil things, but I will read you my review. This book took just shy of forever for me, I'm sorry, but it was overall a nice conclusion to the series, and I have to say I kind of loved Dominic and Melina's story. This is another series that I definitely have a lot of annotations for. I'm looking forward to going back and tabbing, and I think it's going to hurt more. Because I listened to all the audiobooks, so I think like actually reading the words I'm going to be in pain. But anyway, we like pain here. Then I read Betting on You by Lynn Painter, and I gave it a 4-star rating. Charlie and Bailey were really sweet. Parts of this felt juvenile, but it had that Lynn Painter charm that keeps me coming back for more every time. I loved how the two were able to lean on each other to navigate the familial changes they were experiencing, and the fake dating was fun. I also adore how Lynn Painter manages to make love feel gradual and natural in pacing. So that's a big thing for me. I don't like when it feels forced or rushed or like, when did we fall in love? I'm confused. I also want to expand my Lynn Painter collection. I'm pretty sure the only book that I have of Lynn Painter's is better than the movies. And that's just not okay, because I've definitely loved more. I do definitely want to add this to my physical collection. I think I want to get all of her books that I've read so far, except for Made for Each Other. I think that's what it's called. Did not really feel that one at all. But I will eventually, hopefully, add all of her books to my collection. Then we have Savor It by Tara DeWitt, which is the first book in the Spoons Oregon series. I did also go out of order with this one by mistake. I read Left It Forever first, which is the second book, and I fell in love so hard. I do have that physical book, but I have not gone back and annotated it yet. I was not highlighting on my Kindle while I was reading it because it wasn't on KU. I've gotten to the point where I'm putting the audiobook on hold until the ebook is also available so I can do my tandem kind of thing. But anyway, for Savor It, my rating is 4.5. It's really weird because for most of the book I was like, wow, this really isn't hitting like Left It Forever did. That sucks. And then I sobbed for the last 5 to 10%. Anywho, for that reason alone, I can't rate it any lower. Sage and Fisher killed me a little bit, and I love Indy, and I hope her and Sam get to live happily ever after. Also, Lost and Found is the third book in this series, and I have the ARC. I'm so excited. I should probably get on that because it comes out in a month. I think on August 4th. And here we are, July 3rd. I'll get on it, I promise. I'm new to this ARC world. The pressure's on. Then I read, obviously I want to add Savor It to my collection. I have Lost and Found pre-ordered. I have Left It Forever on my shelf already. I just have to go back and annotate it. And I have to go back through Tara DeWitt's backlist and see how much she'll hurt me everywhere else. Then we have The Hidden by Kirsten Modglin. Modglin, we're going to say. So sorry if I said that wrong. 3 stars. I tried to go out of my comfort zone a little bit, and I found myself just not caring. 3 stars. This was fine. I liked it enough to finish it, but I wasn't the biggest fan of our FMC or really anybody in the story, and I don't do well with unlikable characters. This was a thriller. It was like she wakes up somewhere, she has no idea where she is, and she's like, there's a countdown on the wall, there's nothing descript anywhere, and she's like, where am I? How did I get here? Like, this is weird. And then somebody from her past is put into this house wherever she is with her. And she's like, oh, so it wasn't an accident. Got it. Great. And then they have to escape. So, yeah, I just didn't care, I fear. Will not be adding that to my shelf. Then we have our first reread of the year, and we're kind of in our reread bag this year, which you'll see. But I think everybody is, because of all the adaptations that are coming out, all of the continuations in series, and it's like, okay, well, I need refreshers. So, which is really not fair, because how am I supposed to read all the books I want to read if I'm going back and rereading the books I already read? My fault, not the author's. The Right Move by Liz Tomforty, which is the second book in the Windy City series. I very heavily tabbed and annotated caught up and Rewind It Back, which are the 3rd and 5th books in the series. I don't have the first book, Mile High, because I don't like it. So I wanted to go back and tab and annotate the 2nd and 4th, so that my whole series was annotated. And I did that. Are we kidding? I feel like I say that every time I hold up a tabbed book, but it's a sickness. And I'm fine with it. I did not remember Ryan Shea hitting as hard as he did, but I did in fact love him the second time around. Kind of makes me feel like I need to reread Mile High, but I also feel like everybody feels the way that I do about this, about that book compared to the rest of the series. So maybe I'm just going to leave Well Enough alone. My original rating, I didn't re-rate it because I obviously already rated it, but my original rating was 4.5 stars. And I think I stand by that. Then I read Something Wicked, which is the first book in the Idle Reputation series by Fallon Ballard. I have read other books by Fallon Ballard, and I think I liked them. So when I saw that she had a romantasy coming out, I was excited. I gave it 3 stars. My review is Kate and Callum were sweet, and there were definitely some quotes I would have annotated if I had the physical copy, but this story didn't exactly hit for me. I was excited for a romantasy by Fallon Ballard, as I've loved some of her other books, and the cover drew me right in, but it felt like a romantasy with a slight magical theme. To me, it was more Ashley Poston than a romantasy, which there's nothing wrong with. I think I just put higher expectations on this book than I should have. 3 stars. So this is like Callum needs to... He wants to become king, I think, and to do so, he has to kill the previous monarch, which is his father. Yeah, so to get over that guilt, he's like, God, I can't bring myself to do it, obviously. So then he goes to see Kate, and Kate works in this, sex club, and her whole situation is that she can manipulate anybody, their emotions, as long as they have an orgasm in her presence. So, yeah. I told you about spice. I have limits. Then I read Out of the Gate, which is the first novella in the Gold Rush Ranch series. So it's book 1.5 by Elsie Silver. 3 stars. An Elsie hero has never infuriated me like this. I feel like all he did was whine, and he felt immature to me, being that he's older. I think it goes without saying I will not be adding Something Wicked or Out of the Gate to my physical collection. Then I read Corrupt, which is the first book in the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas, and I gave it a 3.25, which is actually better than I was expecting. There were some really sweet lines, but I fear this is darker than I prefer. So then, Kayla finished the rest of the series. She read the rest of the series. And she said, babe, don't bother. You're not going to like it. I said, okay. Thanks. Because she knows my boundaries, and apparently that crosses all of them. So moving on, bigger and better things. We read The Hot Shot, which is the first book in the Dugout series by Piper Rain, and I gave that a 3.5 star. I will also not be buying this one. 3.5, cute story, but I was slightly irritated throughout. I'm also slumping really hard, so I may be being a tad bit unfair. So when I'm slumping, apparently I just hate FMCs, all of them. I remember this one was driving me nuts. She has to raise her cousin's 3 kids. And her best friend's older brother. She kissed once a while ago, whatever, and nothing came of it. And all of a sudden, here he is, and he's being the partner and co-parent that she never had or wanted, knew she needed. I don't know. He just he raises these kids with her out of nowhere. Where did you come from? Why are you here? I'm so cranky all the time. I just didn't like it. I did not like it. It was fine. Not fine enough. Okay, I don't know why these are backwards, but then I read Lot 62 by Nordica Night, which is the second book in the From Nothing series, and book 3, which is Knock Knock. I gave both 4 star, I think. So for Lot 62, the second book, my review is there's just something about Devin and Maddox that I really enjoy. They're a hot mess, but they love each other so deeply whether they like it or not. I love watching them overcome every obstacle together and how fiercely they want and will do anything to protect each other. And then for Knock Knock, Knock Knock is not... Okay, so the first book is Garrett Park. And Garrett Park is also following Devin and Maddox. Book 3, Knock Knock, is not following Devin and Maddox, but they're in it. Nate and Zavi were precious in a way that I feel like Devin and Maddox would have hated to be, but I loved all of them. I also really loved the kids and what they brought to the story. Something I observed with these books and greatly appreciated is that these are very masculine men. I love seeing the dichotomy of being so hard and masculine in their lives, but so soft and vulnerable in their relationships. It's a beautiful balance that Nordica manages to achieve. The spice is good, the emotion is good, the love is good, the dynamics that make all the relationships differ from one another. I love it all. No, I'm a big fan of it all. I love it all, it's fine. So like I said, 4 stars for each of those. I don't know if I want that series physically. It's not on my book trophies list, but like I don't see why not. I did love those boys. How to Kill a Guy in 10 Days. I'm sorry. Please hold. We're in March now. Okay, the first book that I read in March was How to Kill a Guy in 10 Days. I really like this book, and I think I want this one physically. 4.25. I wasn't sure how I was going to rate this book at first, but it was truly a breath of fresh air and helped me feel ready to get out of my slump. If you know me even the slightest, then you know I've never once been 100% right about a whodunit, and this was no exception. Thompson had me guessing at every turn and having a hard time trusting anybody. I don't think there was a single character that I was 100% confident wasn't the killer. I loved Jamie's relationship with Laurie, and I don't think I've ever met a Wes I didn't like. I like how different the concept was from the other thrillers / romantic suspenses that I've read before, and I definitely think that was intentional, and in my opinion, she really succeeded. I will definitely be keeping an eye on this author. So, the author, by the way, is Shaylee Thompson. I've never heard of her before. I don't know if she has other books out. Let's just take a gander. No. Not yet. That was her first book and it was great! I had a great time. Now I feel like I really have to buy it. Yay! Okay. Then I read A Killer Kind of Romance by Letizia Larini, which I gave a 3.75 star rating. What do you know? Alyssa was wrong about the suspect again. This was mostly cute, oddly similar to my previous read in some ways, but I think that's primarily coincidence. Raphael was the sweetest, and I kind of wish I had the ebook so I could annotate his lines if nothing else, but Scarlett did annoy me several times throughout. I didn't super buy into the romance the entire time, but the moments that I felt it were solid. The misdirections did their job, but I'm starting to think that I could be misdirected by a very obvious sign. Perhaps I'm just a dodo. I don't think it's perhaps, I think I know that. I don't want that one physically. Heartstrings by Ivy Fairbanks, which is the second book in the Love and Galway series. The first book, which was Morbidly Yours, I read last year and I loved it, and I do have it on my shelf to be annotated. I have a TBR, I have a TBA, I have a DNF. Lots of acronyms here. Anyway, 4.25. This one, I'll add this one to my collection. Ada and Cielo, love her name by the way, have a beautiful story where they find their ways back to each other after a rocky end to their relationship, and this just felt like a true It's Always Been You. I loved the pining and the yearning, and I loved seeing Callum and Lark again. Callum and Lark are the couple from the first book. Okay. What order is this? Okay. Then we have another reread, which goes back to The Right Move. I had to read book 4 in the Windy City series. Windy City series? Yeah. Play Along by Liz Tomforty. This one is not nearly as annotated. It is still heavily annotated. I initially gave it, I think, a 5-star. And my review was, don't mind me, I'll just be over here writing a love letter to Liz Tomforty. So this was the last book that I had to annotate for my entire Windy City? Okay. This was the last book that I had to annotate to completely annotate my entire Windy City series collection. Here we go. Okay. That was harder than it should have been. Okay, we have another physical. 2 back-to-back. The second book in a series that I also started last year. Power Play by Chelsea Curto. So, let's talk about this real quick. I Atria is now publishing these. And I got Face Off right before that happened. So Face Off doesn't match this one, and I don't have any of the other ones yet, because I'm holding off so that they can all at least match this one. Face Off is a completely different font. Not a big deal. Big deal for the OCD, though. It's fine. 4.5 stars. My review's not loading, hang on. I loved Piper and Liam, and I knew I would. I'm always down for a grumpy goalie. I was missing the 5-star feeling here, but this was great, and I love being with these characters. I'm a sucker for a found family if nothing else, because that's all I want in life. And if I can't have it in real life, then I'll get it here. In these. And in here. But it's another heavily annotated book. So is Face Off, but I'm not going to show you because it's all the way above my head over there. Then after Power Play, I read And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison, which is the second book in the Heartstrings series, following Jackson and Delilah. 3.75. Here I go being cranky again. I loved Jackson. He's the sweetest baby ever. Delilah wasn't exactly my favorite, but I did feel for her at times. Jackson and his relationship with his sisters made my heart so warm, and I'm honestly kind of glad there was no redemption for their mom. I'm a firm believer in not everyone can/needs to be redeemed. I'm also really glad that Jackson got the validation from the girls that he clearly so desperately needed. This was heartwarming for sure, but the romance wasn't my absolute favorite until closer to the end. And that's okay. I am really excited for her new book coming out in, is it September? Grim Tidings? The thing about B.K. Borison is that her marketing, whoever she has do the illustrations and everything, does a fantastic job. And gets me every time. Every single time. For a first time caller, I was so down. I was so into it. And Now Back to You, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. For Good Spirits, it was really cute. I have to go back and try Good Spirits again when the fall comes. When the winter comes around. But the art for Grim Tidings specifically has been blowing my mind, and I have to read it. I have to. But we have another physical book. After I read And Now Back to You, I read No Matter What by Cara Bastone. And this is the third book in the Hearts of New York series. What are the other two? Ready or Not? And what's the other one? Promise Me Sunshine. I loved all of those. 4.5. This book made me want to crawl inside Devin's skin more so than I already did. Vin and Roz have a story that feels like the epitome of marriage and what it's all about. I have to come back to this review when I feel a little bit less like sobbing, but I really have no notes. I loved it. This also isn't super heavily annotated, especially in the beginning, but it gets heavier towards the end. Yeah, this one hurted. I don't know if you've noticed, but I try to match my tabs to my covers. I feel like I might have missed the mark a little bit on this one. But it's okay. We're just girls here. After I read No Matter What, we have the last book that I read in March. I was going to say the last book of 2026. That's not true. If Only You Knew by L.E.K. Wild. The third book in the Oakwood Bay series. I loved the first two books in the series. Loved them so bad. Want them on my physical... want them on my shelf as trophies. I gave this one 3.5 stars. 3.5 isn't bad, but it's not great for me. Like, I know, like, some people are like, 3 stars is great, it's like, it's half, you know, it's better than whatever. 3.5. There was a lot in this book that was sweet, particularly Parker's lines, because I love a man. But the spice kind of overshadowed that for me, and I wasn't too happy with Summer at more points than I care to admit. Because again, I'm cranky, and again, I don't like spice. Are you noticing a pattern here? I feel like I liked the spice in the first two books, though. I don't know what was different about this one. It just didn't really hit for me, and that's okay. Moving on to April. We are almost there, folks. I mean, not really. We have 3 more months. We're halfway there. First, I read The City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. 3.5 stars. This is the first book in the Mortal Instruments series, and this is like where you're supposed to start the Shadowhunters universe, according to Emmy. I wish I could tell you I remembered what happened, but this was like the month before the wedding. My brain wasn't really working as it is. So if I do decide that I want to go into this series and I want to have the emotional damage and everything, I'm going to have to just start from... I'm going to have to read that over again. Which is why I didn't continue, because I don't want to have to read the whole series over. So, 3.5 for that. Then I read How to Write a Love Story by Catherine Walsh, which I also gave a 3.5 star rating. This was sweet, but I wasn't overly connected to the characters or the story, and I don't think I'll remember much. And I can confirm, because I don't remember much of anything about this story. If I read the synopsis, I might, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, this one's exciting. I can't wait to talk about this one. This is a long review, too. This is my first arc that I read this year, Embraced by Backkkk, which is the fourth and final book in the Off the Ice series. 4.5 stars. I have it pre-ordered. I don't have it yet, but I will have it physically on my shelf because it's kind of a no-brainer. I do have Spiral and... God, what's the other one? Collide is the first one. Spiral and Revolve. So I will have... I'm going to have to just get Collide too, because I can't have 3 out of the 4. I did like Collide. Anywho, are we ready for this review? Again, it was an arc, so I had to post my review, but I went in. 4.5 stars. I sat on this review for quite a while to make sure that I did it justice instead of my usual short and sweet review. Zero disrespect to Book 1 Collide, but Books 2 and 3 in Backkk's Off the Ice series, Spiral and Revolve, respectively, were both books that I fell for when I read them. So I was understandably over the moon when I got the email that I was approved for this arc. This is the first arc email that I got approved for, and I was like... I did try reading arcs in 2023, I think. I read 1 or 2, but this is like, I want this to be my job. And I'm planning on actually like doing this now. So, it was exciting. It felt like a little marker for me. But anyway, one of my most highly anticipated releases of 2026 being in my hands early felt like a dream come true. Key Nishida has my heart as Baal's male main characters tend to. I cannot even begin to explain how much of this book I highlighted, and I cannot wait to get a physical copy in my hand so I can transfer my annotations and tab the ever-loving daylights out of it. Scarlet, on the other hand, because I hate women apparently, Scarlet, on the other hand, was not my favorite female main character. I feel bad for feeling this way because she absolutely has reasons for being the way that she is, but thinking about how her actions impacted my sweet baby Kian doesn't totally sit right with me. This book had me sobbing before I got ready for work, and that, to me, is a sign of a great book. I'm going to insert clips here. So I'm reading Embrace. Anyway, I was going to bump this rating down. I was like, this isn't a 5-star. There's no way. Because Scarlet pisses me off. Because look at the people she has in her life. Okay, that's all. That's the update. That was chapter 47. So we're almost done. I need to get ready for work. I completely have it together, I swear. Despite any miscommunications, which typically drive me even more insane than they did in Embrace, this was an incredibly sweet story, and it has stayed with me ever since I finished it a couple of weeks ago. I admire the way that Baal is able to keep the personalities of the characters so separate and distinct from one another. I've read plenty of interconnected standalone series where it's easy to mix up the characters because they all have the same or very, very similar personality traits, characteristics, etc., but not in Baal's books. I'm also a sucker for found family and seeing all of the characters that I've fallen in love with previously one last time in the final book. And the way that these characters showed up for one another despite their own lives and goings-on is exactly what I dream of being a part of. This was a beautiful conclusion to the series, and I cannot wait to see what Baal does next. Thank you to NetGalley for the e-arc. I am eternally grateful. Damn right I am. I still can't believe that I got to read that early. I I think you're gonna get a kick out of my sobbing, because I think it's funny. Okay, after Embrace, I read Still Into You. Oh, I gave Embrace a... My review says a 4.5, my notebook says a 5. If that helps at all. Then I read Still Into You by Erin Connor. Okay. I said it in my review, so I don't have to say it to you right now. 4.25. I feel like I usually have a love-hate relationship with rockstar romance, but a second chance romance almost never misses for me. By the time I got 30% into the audiobook, I knew I had to stop, wait for the ebook to be available at my library, and then start over so I could highlight all the quotes that made my heart happy. The voice actor for Dax was Chef's Kiss, and I absolutely loved him. I have this one physically, because I loved it so much. It's not super, super tabbed, but I did in fact love this man. I love them both, actually. I don't think I hated her at all. Yay, for not being a woman hater. Oh, I'm sorry. I threw the book a little too hard. Moving on. I read Wrecked by Brie Almina, which is the first book in the Weston Legacy series. In my notebook, I wrote 3.75, but I rated it a 4 on Goodreads. And I didn't put a number in my review. But my review says, I'm conflicted on how I want to rate this. A few things didn't sit right with me. I'm going to do major spoilers here. So I'm going to put a little time for you to jump to if you don't want to hear about it. Or if you haven't read it yet and you want to. Again, spoilers. The entire time I listened to this, I couldn't get Twilight would be a horror if it was told from Charlie's perspective out of my head, because in that case, Katie is literally Charlie. Poor thing didn't deserve a single bad thing to happen to her, and there were a lot. Nate said some beautiful things, but something about him kept him from being an MMC that I could obsess over. Ellie wasn't my favorite either, and the fact that she actually cut off our family permanently and then killed herself, abandoning her daughter that was half the love of her life, and then left her to her sister that she cut off. I don't know. I understand a flawed character, but damn. I feel Ellie was unfairly angry with Katie. None of it was her fault. She didn't know any better. In one of my updates, I mentioned that something was bugging me. I'm not certain if it was in the writing or the narration, but something just felt a little like mockery. Maybe that's not the right word, but over-dramatized might be the right word. I think a lot of the writing would have been absolutely beautiful if there was more of a nonchalance to the delivery in the audio. I could be nitpicking, but the way that I sobbed when Nate was dying / actually died, I'm glad I pushed through to the end. This is why I prefer not to DNF if I'm not truly suffering. Okay, welcome back. If you want emotional damage, I suggest reading that book. But know that there are things that made me unhappy with it, and I think 3.75 is more where I'm at than 4. But moving on. Game On by Nevessa Allen, which is the third book in the Into Darkness series. So let me talk about this series for a second. The first book is Lights Out. Absolutely loved it. So much, but I didn't buy it. Like, I don't have the physical copy of it. But I saw the second book was coming out, caught up. So I was like, I'm going to pre-order that because obviously it's going to hit like the first one hit. It didn't. So I did not bother pre-ordering Game On. And I'm glad I didn't, because I gave it a 3.25 star. I like this book more than Caught Up, which I think I rated Caught Up higher, actually. I think I like this book more than Caught Up, but the relationship didn't really feel like there was any love in it to me, which made me sad, but I definitely would have bought into it. Wow, I can't talk today, I'm sorry. I definitely would have bought into it if it was a friends with benefit type situation. Friends with benefits type situation. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that. Then I read Daughter of No Worlds, which is the first book in the War of Lost Hearts series by Carissa Broadbent. And I gave it a 3.75. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to read this one over too because I don't remember anything. My review is I love Max so much and I'm excited to continue on in the series. So excited I haven't done it yet. This was in April. I just want to see. Is his name Max Centaurius? Is it in the review? Yep, Max Centaurius. I remember that. Then I read Happy Ending by Chloe Leese. Leesey? I don't know. 4.25 stars. I love when a child character is done right. I did a whole lot of smiling while listening to this audio, and I think I may want this book on my trophy shelf. I do. Yes, I do. So just to go back real quick. Wrecked, I don't think I'm ever going to have on my shelf. Game On, I'm not going to have on my shelf. Daughter of No Worlds, I need to read the whole series to see if I want it on my shelf. As of right now, no. And Happy Ending, yes. Another physical book, and I mentioned this queen earlier. We have The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez, which is the second book in the Say You'll Remember Me series. And I don't know what it is about these books in this series. I read Say You'll Remember Me, the physical book, and I read this book physically. And I loved it. I love both of them. I might also have clips from this one that I was crying over. I need to read you this because I'm unwell. I made Mike pay to fix your car. I told him to get you the jewelry box. I bought your Christmas gift because he brought you those fucking cookies that he almost killed you with. I carry an EpiPen because the worst possible thing that could ever happen to me is something bad happening to you. I have died every day for almost a year watching him mess up with you over and over again, and all I can do are these stupid little things that make your life better or easier or safer. The EpiPen is nothing. The snow is nothing. It's not even... It would do anything for you. If I had a nut allergy, I'd taste your food to make sure it's safe. And if it wasn't and I died, I'd die happy because I died protecting you. Do you understand? God, I just... I love these stupid books. Okay, I need to continue. And then he said, I just wanted you to be happy. She said, I would have been happier with you. Okay. I don't know how well you're able to see my tabs because of the sprayed edges, but there are quite a bit. Quite a few of them. And I can't see my little viewfinder thing. Okay, here we go into May. So, okay, April was a light month because it was the month before my wedding. But then I actually got married. So, May kind of picked up a little bit towards the end. But I started off with Tattered Tides by Sarah A. Bailey, as I get like super comfy because we're besties talking right now. The first book in the Celestia Cove series. This one I might want physically, I don't know. I think the cover's so pretty. Anyway. 4 stars. My previous claim of never meeting a West I didn't like stays true. I love Weston so much, and the way he was with Willow was absolutely precious. Once the spice started, it was a little too frequent for me, but I'm super picky. It was genuinely a sweet book. I could see this one being on my shelf. And I think the next one's coming out... when? September. Okay, go on, go back. See what happens when I try to research while I'm doing this. Okay. Then I read First and Forever by Lynn Painter, 4.25. This one I also definitely want on my shelf, like I mentioned before. Lynn Painter is my girl, that's all. Did I say 4.25? I think so. But in all seriousness, I loved Connor and Duffy so much. I know I've said this before, but Lynn Painter has an ability to make romance feel gradual and authentic that I don't see often, especially considering how short this book was. I did in fact cry my little heart out halfway through, which I think is just a testament to her challenge. I'm sorry, that's not what I said. Which I think is just a testament to her talent. Seeing a new release from her is always the best news. So yes, definitely on my shelf. Then I read Everybody's Favorite God by Catherine Senner, which is a novella, I believe. Yep. This was the definition of short and sweet. My biggest qualm is what he said to her to get her to hate him, but he admitted it was a tad much, so I'll give him that. 3.75. I'm still mad at him. It's fine. Okay. I think I was vlogging, and I said something about like, oh, well, I never rate something below a 3-star, because if it was a below a 3-star, then it wasn't even worth finishing for me. I finished something, and I rated it below a 3-star. Not much below, but I read Tell Me Lies by Hannah Gray, which is the first book in the New England Bay Sharks series, and I gave it a 2.75. I don't take this low rating lightly. I hate the idea of rating someone's pride and joy low, but I'm frustrated that I finished this. Thinking back on the story, there was nothing about Logan and Macy's relationship that felt like it was a special situation. With how fast he was into Macy, it's hard to imagine that he didn't have similar thoughts about Maddie. The smut was too frequent and early for my liking, but this is just a preference. Where my issues with the story really come in is with the third act conflict. Spoilers again. Spoilers before I spoil the whole book with no warning. Where my issues with the story really come in is the third act conflict. The phrase, "don't piss me off," comes to mind. How dare Logan be pissed at Macy for not telling him that the accident that killed Cassandra was the same accident that killed her dad after he said, "I don't want things to change, just lie to me." Even if he didn't literally tell her not to tell him, he had no right or reason to be pissed when she finally did tell him. Usually I have an issue with the FMC, but I can confidently say that I think Macy deserves better, and just because Logan's better than her ex doesn't mean he's great. Also, Logan saying, "my wiener," please stop it. Comparing Logan to a book boyfriend repeatedly was cringy and inaccurate. Logan repeatedly talking about how he's a public figure and can't trust anyone is also super irritating to me. Sorry, I didn't like it. Okay, then we have something that I really did like. Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. Okay. We're going to talk about this quickly. I have 3 minutes left on this SD card. I watch every year after, and I loved it. I did a lot of crying over it. I might want all of Carly Fortune's books physically. I don't know. I don't think I have any at the moment, but I definitely need Our Perfect Storm. Because I did a whole spread of it in my notebook. Let me see if I can show you before my SD card dies or runs out of space. I did a whole Our Perfect Storm spread. I loved it. I loved it so much. 4.5 stars. No, because I love this, and I think this is my favorite Carly book so far. I'm a sucker for childhood fronts to lovers, and It's Always Been You, and I just loved everything about their relationship throughout all stages. I'm also a big fan of when other relationships other than a romance tug at my heartstrings, and this book did exactly that. These books also don't help with my issue of desperately wanting to go to Canada to see what she has to offer. Yeah, 4.5, and I need it on my shelf. But it's only in hardcover right now, and I want the paperback. So, I'll have to wait. So sorry. I'm going to pause so I can switch out my SD card and then move back and only yap some more. Because I have half of May and all of June to go through still. So sorry, this is going to be the longest video ever. Imagine if I was reading you the synopses. Okay, hi, now we're good. I got that video onto my phone so I can edit it, and then I deleted it from here. So now I can yap to you for another 50-something minutes. Yay! It's not gonna be that long, I promise. Okay, where did we leave off? We talked about how I loved Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune, and now we're moving on. So next we have Fever Dream by Elsie Silver, which is the first book in the Emerald Lake series that she's starting. I loved it, and there's a little bit of sticker adhesive from this. So you also can't really tell my tabbies here. Oh, you can like that. Okay. I love this one too. This was a 4.5 star rating. This is exactly what I'm looking for when I pick up an Elsie book. Her characters are the perfect balance of damaged and growing. The love feels authentic and genuine. The familial relationships are forever my favorite. I love that they take themselves just the right amount of seriously, and I can't wait to see where the rest of the series takes us. Loved it. Then we have Strong and Wild by Sloane St. James, which is the second book in the Lakes Hockey series. Why is my phone so bright right now? Or is it just dark outside? I don't know what's going on. 3.5. I'm not really sure how to feel about this one. 3.5 feels a little generous considering how much of the third act conflict irritated me, but the spice was pretty good and there were some sweet moments. Another little nitpick is that it felt like we went from lusty thoughts to I'm in love with you before I could even blink. It didn't really feel authentic, but towards the end of the relationship it felt more convincing. Towards the end of the book, not the relationship. Sorry. Okay, so for these novellas, this series of novellas, I'm going to kind of rapid fire through them because I don't remember anything. That's like my MO. Okay, first it was S'more Review by Tessa Bailey. 3 stars. This felt a tad too juvenile. Maybe I'm just getting old and cranky. Then it was Save a Horse, Keep the Cowboy by Jessica Peterson, 3 stars. This was fine. My biggest issue was that the MMC did all the work on himself for years and FMC did seemingly nothing. But MMC threw himself at her feet anyway. Then we have One Hot Summer Wedding, 3 stars by Fallon Ballard. No, because what do you mean he used to be down bad for her for years and then didn't recognize her? I don't know if I've liked anybody in this story. And we have Girls Just Want to Have Sun by Rachel Lacey, 3.25. This one annoyed me the least out of the collection thus far, but I may just need to quit with the novellas because it's too insta-love for me. Summer Staycation by Sarah Grunder Ruiz, 3.5. This one is charming and I love the representation and overall acceptance and accommodations. And last but not least, the last novella in this series was Summer Thaw by Rebecca Genshak. The series is Summer 11, by the way, that's the name of it. Summer Thaw by Rebecca Genshak, 3.5. This one was my favorite out of the collection, but my previous complaint still stands. Novellas typically feel too insta-lovey for me. And then here we go, last month, June. We're almost done, I promise. Obviously I don't want any of those novellas either because none of them hit for me. And I don't really want Strong and Wild either. But then I started off June. June was a pretty good reading month. Yay! Okay. I started off June reading The Shippers by Catherine Senner, and I gave it a 4.25. I love A Childhood Friends to Lovers Second Chance. Jojo and Cooper surprisingly didn't drive me nuts with their miscommunication, but it was definitely there, so be forewarned. I love this book and I want it physically. So, yeah, 4.25. Then we have another arc which also comes out this month in July. Yes, Chef by Grace Riley. This was my first Grace Riley book, and I had a great time. So this is another long review because, again, it's an arc. I am writing this review a day after I finished reading the book just to give myself some time to dwell on it. I gave myself 2 weeks to dwell on Embrace. Approximately 24 hours later, and I'm here to report that I missed Jack and Poppy terribly. I took my time working through this book so I didn't wind up resenting it for it feeling like homework, and honestly, every time I picked it back up, I remembered exactly where I was and what was happening, which is not something that happens to me often. As is the case with most books, there were some things that bothered me, but I'm definitely coming around to accepting flawed characters and their not so great decisions, and Jack reaped the benefits of this time. Yeah, okay. Jack is a kind of tortured, traumatized MMC that I adore to read about, and it made my heart so warm to see him finally do a little bit of healing. I also really love to see Poppy's growth over the course of the book. Looking at how seemingly shallow she was in the beginning of the book, and seeing her come into herself and getting to know her on a deeper level really made me love her. The relationship between Jack and Poppy was gradual and believable, 2 incredibly important things for me. I will admit that all the cooking did influence me, and I went out of my way to learn how to make Italian bread from scratch, so my husband got homemade bread and some shrimp scampi thanks to this book. I haven't watched The Bear, and this is not a setting that I'm familiar with by any means, but I loved it, and not for nothing, but there were a lot of words / phrases / terminologies that have to do with cooking / running a kitchen that I've never heard of in my life, but it made it feel more authentic to me. Sometimes my lack of knowledge about specific things can take me out of a story, but this didn't. It kind of felt like, yeah, she wrote it like this to include me in the kitchen. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I cannot wait to get myself a physical copy, which I have pre-ordered, so I can transfer all my annotations and display her proudly on my shelf. I'll definitely be checking out Grace Riley's backlist so I can fall in love with more of her characters. Thank you to NetGalley for this arc. Did I say 4.25? I loved it. Like, I'm at the point where I kind of want to, like, give it a little bit more. Maybe 4.5. Crazy. I really did have a great time with it, though. Then I did another reread. I reread A Court of Thorns and Roses. Not a lot of tabs in this one because this is not my favorite book, but I'm prepping for books 6 and 7 to come out. So then I followed that up with A Court of Mist and Fury. I love these covers so much, and I'm so sad that I'm not going to have matching ones for 6 and 7. But this one I tabbed significantly more. Okay, and then I took a break from my rereads, and I was reading another arc. I'm in my arc bag, my arc and my reread bag this year. Then I read Love Wells Kept by Bailey Hannah, which is the 5th book in the Wells Branch series. Again, I read Change of Heart, which is the 3rd book, in January, and it was not my favorite, but I got this arc and I was so excited. This book also comes out in July. I think the 7th. And today's the 3rd. So I'm going to get my physical copy soon. 4.75! I may be changing my rating to 5 stars if I can't stop thinking about these characters. But once again, the last book in the series has been everything my heart needed and more. This felt like a love letter to marriage and everything it's supposed to represent. Unwavering commitment, love, patience, support, and effort. Nobody imagines that they'll be in a situation like this one, but this book really makes you put yourself in the character's shoes and see all the nitty-gritty parts of for better or worse, and in sickness and in health. Naturally, I highlighted half the book while reading, so I'm ecstatic for my pre-ordered copy to come so I can transfer every last annotation, but somewhere in these pages I found something, a lot of some things, that made me proud to be married and want to strive to be the kind of woman that Kate is. Interconnected standalone series like this always make me want nothing but a big chosen family that will always be there at every turn. The ability for Bailey Hannah to handle such difficult moments and topics with such grace and delicacy is not lost on me, and I am truly in awe. Some books in the series were better than others for me, but this one is by far my favorite. It's truly bittersweet to leave Wells Ranch, but I know for sure that I will be back, as well as following Bailey Hannah wherever she goes next. Thank you, Nat Kelly, for this arc. I feel so emo about that, about that book. But again, I feel so honored, blessed, grateful that I got to read the arc. Like, that's, I don't know, it's such a cool thing for me. And I don't have a lot of followers, so I think that's why it gets me so excited. Like, imagine what I'm going to get when I do have followers. Anyway, then I did another novella series. This one did not go well for me, unfortunately. We have Safe Harbor by Nicola Yoon, 3 stars. I didn't even write anything for these books because I just genuinely didn't really care for them. Julia at the Drive-In by Rainbow Rowell, 3.25. And then the next 4 I did not rate. Winter Breakage by David Leviathan. I don't even know if I said his last name right. I'm sorry, I'm hyperfixated on that. The Prince of Admission by Dustin Thau. 3 of Hearts by Katie Cotugno. I think so. And Back to You by Anne Liang. They're coming of age stories. They're very YA. They're I don't know. I'm happy I'm not that age anymore. So I think that that just wasn't the series of novellas for me because again, that was a hard part of my life. It's a hard part of everybody's life, but it was especially hard in my life. That makes me sound like I think I'm special, and I know I'm not. But I did not have a good time at that age, despite meeting my husband. But yeah, I don't want to be back there. I'm happy being a 25-year-old old lady. Anyway, the last book that I read in June, the 66th book that I read so far this year, is A Court of Wings and Ruin. And she's tabbed. She is tabbed up. But I have to start A Court of Frost and Starlight and A Court of Silver Flames. I need to read those, and then from there I'm going to go into Throne of Glass and then Crescent City. I don't know how I think I'm going to do all this before October. It's July 3rd. ACOTAR 6, October 27th. ACOTAR 7 coming out January 12th. Oh, the next Fourth Wing book, or novella, whatever it is, coming out on my birthday! Yeah, like I said, those are all the 66 books that I've read so far this year. I hope you enjoyed me yapping at you for over an hour. Hopefully I can edit it down to under that, but the first clip that I did before I had to pause was 56 minutes or 59 minutes. So sorry about that. I don't want to talk anymore. My voice doesn't want to work anymore. So my reading goal for the year is 200 books. I believe that the me that made that goal forgot that I was getting married this year and was going to be very busy being social, having these celebrations, planning a wedding, etc. But this me isn't a quitter, so we're going to try to keep it as is. Which means we have to start rapid firing books. But I think we can do it. I'm choosing to be optimistic, and I think I'm going to make a series of shorts or reels or TikToks or whatever you want to call them, and it's going to be like a trying to catch up my reading goal series. I think that'll be fun. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.